known as an interrupt vector table, and by default the address of this interrupt vector table would start with 0000. Are you getting this? It is fixed that the interrupt vector table would always start with all zeros. Followed? So here what happens is, in this, say the first type 0 interrupt, it has the interrupt service routine for this type 0 interrupt. Assume that it is written as at 2300:0004. That means this is my segment address and this is the offset value. So now in this case, okay, so 2 bytes are reserved for storing the segment address and 2 more bytes are used for storing the offset value. Now in this case, the lower order 2 bytes contains the offset value, that is 0004. So this is the 2 bytes, and the higher order 2 bytes would contain 2300. So this is the address of the interrupt service routine for the type 0 interrupt. So what happens in suppose you have written sub code segment, okay, and here let be the code ends, and if you are trying to divide a number, say suppose divide a number by 0, okay, then by default there would an interrupt would be generated, and the control of the program would move to the interrupt service routine, which is at the address 2300:0004. Okay, so this is my physical address of the interrupt service routine for type 0. Okay, so when an interrupt has been generated, so what happens? What are the steps when an interrupt would be generated? Hello. When an interrupt would be generated, what steps are followed by the processor? It is current. See, the very first step was the flag register value would be pushed onto the stack. It clears the interrupt flag as well as the trap flag. Are you getting this? Then it pushes the CS and IP value, the current segment value as well as CS value, code segment registers value, as well as the instruction pointer value. Both of them are pushed onto the stack. Okay, and load the CS and IP, which is provided into this interrupt vector table. Okay, so first it has to push it onto the current CS and IP should be pushed onto the stack, and this it has to read the the address of the interrupt service routine from the interrupt vector table. Is this thing clear, all of you? Okay, so the now new CS IP value would be 2300 as well as 0004. Okay, so now the control of the program would move to this control of this the processor would start with the interrupt service routine, and at the end when it gets this IRET, then whatever the stored CS and IP value was there onto the stack would be popped into their corresponding registers, as well as it would also pop the flag register. Okay, so then it would continue from the instruction where it has left in the main program. That's what I said. So those are fixed. Are you getting this? It is fixed that if it is a divide by 0, then it is a type 0 interrupt. And if it is a type 0 interrupt, the CS and IP value, the segment register as well as the segment value as well as the IP value, it is there at the address 00000. Is it clear? Got it, all of you? So by default, you can see that here I am having, so if it is type 0, so actually what it does is 0 into 4 is done. So that is equal to 0. then this value 0 is at this address 0, it has the offset value. So the IP value would have now this 0004. Now 0 into 4 plus 2, that is 0 4s are 0 plus 2 is at the address 2, that is 00002. At this address we have this segment value, so that is 2300, and this 2300 would be copied into this CS register. Is it clear now? By in general, say suppose if I'm having type number n, if I'm having the interrupt of type number n, type n, so where would be the offset value stored? It would be n into 4. So here at this address, the offset value would be stored, and that would be there into the IP register, and n into 4 plus 2. So this, the content of this would have the segment value of the interrupt service routine, which is written for type n. Okay, so that value would be there into the CS register. Is it clear, everyone? How about others? For every interrupt service routine would be written, and the starting address of the interrupt service routine is stored into the interrupt vector table. Now, can you tell me what would be the size of the interrupt vector table? What would be the size of the interrupt vector table? 256, very good. Because every interrupt would have, it would occupy 4 bytes, 2 bytes for the segment value and 2 bytes for the offset value, isn't it? So 4 bytes would be required for each of this interrupt. And since we are having 256 different interrupts, so 256 into 4. So the interrupt vector table size is 256 into 4. That is 1024 bytes. Hope you are getting this. Okay. So 1 kilobyte, and it is sure that it is a default value that every interrupt vector table, it is starting from 00000 onwards. Okay, so every time you need not have the different addresses for this interrupt vector table. These are the default addresses from 0000 till 1024 bytes. So 1 kilobyte. These many memory locations are meant for the interrupt vector table. Hope everyone is clear with this. Okay. See here. So it is 0000 till 07FH. Okay. 7F is nothing but these are the number of bytes which is used for storing the interrupt vector. So here this is a type 0 interrupt, type 1 interrupt. These 5 interrupts are fixed for 8086. Then from 14H to 7FH, that is from type 5 to type 31, these are reserved for the future processors, and from 80 to 3FF. So the entire interrupt vector table is ranging from 0000 till 3FFH. Okay. So from the type number 32 till type number 255, it is meant for the users. Hope everyone is clear. Okay. Now, next, say suppose if more than one device or if more than one interrupt has occurred at a time, then to whom the priority should be given. Okay. So when more than one interrupts occur, then priorities of the interrupts are compared in order to determine which interrupt to serve first. So we have to find out if more than one interrupt occurs at a time, then which of them should be served first. Okay. So there are various group of interrupts, like either we can have an internal interrupt, non-maskable interrupt, software interrupt, or some external hardware interrupt which can be connected to the INTR pin. So all these are the different types of interrupt. Now, to whom the priority should be given more? The very internal interrupt group has the higher priority. Okay, so this internal interrupts which are generated internally within the processor, they have the highest priority. Then comes external hardware interrupt group which has they have the lowest priority. Okay, and in this within a group, different interrupts have different priority levels by the type number. So for example, type 0, so type 0, type 1, type 2, etc. are there. So the one which is having the lower number, they are having the higher priorities. Right? So for example, here table is given. Then among this, the highest priority would be for the internal interrupts. Then comes the interrupt due to the which is occurring at the NMI pin, that is a non-maskable interrupt. Then comes the interrupt due to the other IO devices which are connected to this INTR pin. And then comes the single step, that is the INT, which is that single step execution. Single step is type 1. Okay, so that is having the lowest priority. So this is the hierarchy of priority levels which are ranging from the divide error or INT, O, etc. They are having the highest priority. Then comes the non-maskable interrupt. So say suppose if we are performing some currently the processor is processing the ISR for divide by 0. Meanwhile, suppose an interrupt is generated at the NMI pin or non-maskable interrupt. Okay, in that case you may ask that if it is non-maskable, that this should be at the highest priority, isn't it? Say suppose if it is so, then if both this divide error and NMI, both of them are interrupts are occurring at the same time, then what the processor would do, first it would start the divide by the ISR, execution of the ISR which is meant for divide by 0. Then first just it would start, then it would suspend this execution, then the program which is written for this NMI interrupt, so that would be executed, and then once it is finished, then it would come back to the suspended execution of the ISR, continue with the divide error, the program which is written for the divide error. Okay, and then it would finish this divide error. Okay, so what does this indicate? That even if this is having the highest priority, but since we are having this non-maskable interrupt, when it would occur, when it is very crucial and we cannot delay any of the operation due to which is there at the non-maskable interrupt. You cannot mask it or you cannot disable it. So you may ask that, you may assume that this should have the highest priority. But the thing is that since these internal interrupts are having the highest priority, if such non-maskable interrupt occurs, it would suspend, it would start this divide error, the program which is written for the ISR of this divide error, then it would suspend it, it would continue with the program which is meant for the non-maskable interrupt, and then once it is finished, it would come back to this program and it would continue. Hope this is clear, everyone. So these are all the hardware interrupts. See, any hardware, the non-maskable interrupt is also an hardware interrupt, and INTR is also an hardware interrupt. But the program which is meant for this NMI or the INTR, it is stored into the interrupt vector table. Are you getting this? Say suppose if we are connected, say suppose in an industry, if we are connected to certain boiler, okay, and if the boiler goes beyond certain temperature, okay, then it would be a risky. So in that case, it may send a signal to at this NMI pin, and when a signal comes at the NMI pin, then what it will do, a program is written for this non-maskable interrupt. And if you observe here in this interrupt vector table, this is type 2 interrupt, whatever is provided here. Okay, so that program's segment address as well as the offset value should be provided in this part of the memory of this interrupt vector table. Okay, so if such thing, so even if it is an hardware interrupt, but there would be interrupt service routine for each of these hardware interrupt also, and the processor has to execute these programs which is meant for each of these hardware interrupt. Is this thing clear, everyone? Hello. Am I clear, or shall I repeat the things? Hardware also generate interrupt 0 to 5. Yes, for this non-maskable interrupt, type number 2 is provided. Every hardware would also have to, I mean, to process this hardware also, we have to execute the program for that. Is this thing clear? So one such example, if I give, say suppose to this INTR pin, if we connect a keyboard, say suppose, okay. Now, when a keyboard is connected, if a pin is pressed, then there would be certain program. If a key is pressed, there would be certain program that when a key is pressed, so there would be a program to read which key is pressed. Are you getting this? This is just an example what I am giving you. Okay, so for every interrupt, there would be certain program, and those programs are also between 0 to 255. But among those 0 to 255, 0 to 4 are fixed. Then 5 to 31 is meant for the to add some more interrupts for the higher processors. Then 32 to 255, I can have any interrupt number. For say suppose if interrupt is generated at the INTR pin, then I can give the type number 34. Are you getting this? If an interrupt is generated at the INTR pin, I can write certain program and I can provide the type number as 34. So at that type 34, which comes under this, okay. So here I can store the segment address as well as the IP value, offset value of the ISR, which is meant for that for the interrupt which is generated at the INTR pin. Is this thing clear now? As we have discussed about these things, similarly we can write our own interrupt service routine for different devices, and those addresses of that ISR can be stored into this part of the interrupt vector table. Hope everyone is clear. Fine. So we have seen that there can be either hardware interrupt or software interrupts. The hardware interrupts can be a maskable or non-maskable. So for example, we can mask the interrupt which is generated at this INTR pin. So how can you do that? How can you do that? How can you mask or how can you disable the interrupt? NMI is a non-maskable interrupt. That means you cannot disable any interrupt which is generated, or you cannot ignore any interrupt which is generated at this NMI pin. Maskable interrupts are the interrupts which are generated at the INTR pin. Are you getting this? Maskable interrupts are the interrupts which are generated at the INTR pin, whereas NMI pin of the you cannot mask or you cannot disable the interrupt which is at the NMI pin. That is a non-maskable interrupt. My question is, how will you disable that? How will you enable or disable? Interrupt flag, yes, very good. So there is one interrupt flag into the flag register. If I make it 0, that means no interrupt which is coming at the INTR pin would be it would be processed. Are you getting this? Whereas if it is set to 1, then we can process the interrupt which is generated at the INTR pin. Is this thing clear? But you cannot disable any of the interrupt which is generated at the NMI pin. Follow? Then either we can have the software interrupts. So there you can even have a different 256 types of software interrupts that we have discussed. So hardware interrupt is caused by any peripheral device by sending a signal through a specified pin to the microprocessor. So we are having the NMI as well as the INTR pin. So through those pins, a signal would be provided. Okay. And based upon that, the interrupt would be serviced. The 8086 processor has 2 pins, NMI as well as INTR pin. Okay. NMI is a non-maskable interrupt and INTR is a maskable interrupt. And INTR interrupt has the lower priority than the NMI, which we have discussed. So one more interrupt pin associated is INTA called interrupt acknowledgement. Okay. So if you observe here, so say suppose an interrupt request has been made by some device, then in response to this interrupt request, if the processor has received that request, it has to acknowledge that I have received the interrupt request. And for that, we have a signal. If you go through this INTA bar, do you observe here? This is INTA bar. This part. Is this thing clear? So INTA bar signal would be provided saying that I have received the interrupt. Okay, interrupt request. So the 2 pins which are meant for the hardware device to send an interrupt is NMI as well as INTR. And one more interrupt pin, that means it is an acknowledgement pin. And that is nothing but INTA, that is interrupt acknowledgement signal, which is provided by the processor to the IO device. Okay. And the INTR is a maskable interrupt. You can mask or you can unmask that interrupt by using this interrupt flag. This is what we have discussed. Okay. So you can do this, you can set or reset the interrupt flag. For that, we have some instructions, that is STI as well as CLI. Okay. STI refers to set the interrupt flag and CLI refers to clear the interrupt flag. Is this thing clear, everyone? Okay. So if I want that I should not be, the processor should not be interrupted while it is doing certain tasks. In that case, it before executing within the code segment, it can disable the interrupt flag by using this CLI instruction. Whereas if the processor wants to allow any of the interrupt which is generated at the INTR pin, then it can set the interrupt flag by using the STI instruction. Followed? The INTR interrupt is activated by an IO port. If the interrupt is enabled and NMI is disabled, since as we know that if both these interrupt occurs, NMI is having more priority than the INTR. Okay. So in case if the NMI is disabled, then the processor first completes the current execution and sends a low signal on the INTA pin twice. Are you getting this? If it works something like this. Say suppose this is my processor and this is my INTR pin. Okay, and some device is sending a signal, and in response to this signal which it gets at the interrupt request line, it sends a interrupt acknowledgement. Now when it sends an interrupt acknowledgement, so this is bar, that means it has to send a low signal to the IO device. So when it sends an interrupt acknowledgement, first time when it sends this low signal, it is making the IO device ready to send the type number. Okay, it is making the IO device ready to send the type number. So once it sends the low signal, just it makes the IO device ready, and after certain instant of time, again it will send an low signal. So when the second low signal is received by the IO device, it sends this type number. Okay, so this type number is nothing but, what is the type number? In the interrupt vector table, by looking at the type number multiplied by 4, it gets the offset value of the interrupt service routine, which is written for this INTR interrupt, which is for that IO device. And if and that type number n plus n multiplied by 4 plus 2. So at that point, it gets the segment. It is providing the segment address value, and that segment and the IP value would be now copied into the CS and IP register. Is this thing clear? Okay. So the INTR interrupt is activated by an IO port. If the interrupt is enabled and NMI is disabled, if this is the case, NMI should be disabled, then only it can service the interrupt which is coming at the INTR pin. Whereas if NMI is enabled, then this INTR interrupt would not be served. Okay. Then the microprocessor first completes the current execution of the instruction and sends 0, that is the low signal, on the INTA pin twice. As I said, low signal, because it is an INTA bar. The first low signal means INTA informs the external device to get ready, and during the second low signal, the processor receives the 8-bit type number from the programmable interrupt controller. If it is only a single device, then the device itself would send this type number. But if some other device is connected, so we'll see this programmable interrupt controller later. If some other device is connected, then that device would send this type number to the processor. Is this thing clear? So this is listed here. The first complete the current execution of the instruction. As we know that whenever an interrupt is generated, there is a difference between DMA and interrupt. If an interrupt is generated, the current instruction which the processor is processing is first finished. Okay, it would complete the current instruction, then only it starts the execution of the ISR. Whereas in the DMA, it is not necessary that the execution of the instruction is finished completely. Okay, so if an interrupt occurs, first it completes the current instruction, execution of the current instruction which the processor is processing. Then it activates the INTA output and receives the interrupt type number, say X, so that we have seen twice it would send this low signal. Then once it gets the segment address as well as the offset value from the interrupt vector table, for that before that it has to push the flag register value, the current CS as well as the IP value onto the stack. Okay, and new CS and IP value which is there from the interrupt vector table is now copied into the CS and IP register, and the interrupt flag as well as the trap flag is reset to 0. So these things are these steps are taken by the processor if an interrupt is generated at the INTR pin. Is this thing clear, everyone? Hello. If you have any doubts, let me know. Shall I explain it once again? How about others? Okay. Next, what happens if an interrupt is generated at an NMI pin or non-maskable interrupt? It is a single non-NMI pin, non-maskable interrupt pin, having higher priority than the maskable interrupt request pin, and it is of type 2 interrupt. We have seen that type 2 interrupt is a NMI interrupt or non-maskable interrupt. When this interrupt is activated, what happens? Complete the current execution. The same thing what we have discussed there, the same steps would be followed. Current execution of the instruction has to be processed. Push the flag register, push the CS and IP value. Now, the new CS and IP value should be copied from the type number is 2, that is 2 into 4. So that at the address 8, it contains the IP, the offset value of the ISR, which is written for this NMI. Okay, and that would be copied into the IP register, and 2 into 4 plus 2, that is 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 is nothing but 000A. So at this address, the segment value would be placed and CS is loaded into by using that, and interrupt flag as well as trap flag are also set to 0. Okay, so this is how the interrupt would be generated. Now, software. So this was about the hardware interrupt. Similarly, the same thing holds good even for the software interrupt. So they work similar to that of the hardware interrupt, which are generated by the program itself. But here, since it is a software interrupt, the interrupts are generated by the programs itself. So from the interrupt number, so we can have that interrupt number. The CPU derives the address of the interrupt service routine. So as we know that if the interrupt number is 3, then 3 into 4 gives me the offset value, and 3 into 4 plus 2 would give me the segment value of the interrupt service routine. Okay. Software interrupt in assembly language can be treated as calls to the subroutine of other program which are currently running on the computer. It is something like calling a subroutine. As I said, it is something like calling a FAR procedure. In the FAR procedure also, we have the there is a change in the segment address as well as the offset value. Similarly, here also we are having so. Okay. Now, one of the most common software interrupt is interrupt number 21H. So we have discussed this INT 21H, which uses the DOS functions. Okay, one of them is this one. So this, so INT 21H is also we have seen that from the interrupt type number 5 to 31, it is used for development of the other processors, isn't it? So one such function number 21H is meant for the DOS function, and we are having various such functions in this INT 21H. And as we know that the function number is always provided into the AH register. So this is a bit clear to you all, so I'm not going it in much detail. The functions return and accepts value in various registers. An interrupt is called using the instruction INT. So INT, if I write INT, that means an interrupt would be called, and that is followed by the interrupt number. Okay. So we'll see one such example of an interrupt. Okay, and say suppose type 5 interrupt is there. So how to write an interrupt service routine, that we'll see. Say suppose this is my data segment, and I'm having some message which is written into this data segment. Then this is a stack segment. As we know that whenever we are using a procedure, we have to initialize a stack segment, but always it is not necessary. Here, since I am using a procedure, I am writing here. If you don't initialize the stack, it may happen that the current, it may grow in the reverse order, and it may disturb some existing segments. Okay, so you can declare a stack segment here. Then these are the instructions which are used to initialize various segment registers as well as the stack pointer. Now in this case, what I am doing, move AX, 0, then move the current value of AX to ES. Since this type number is 5, so what would be the segment, at what address will have the segment value, segment as well as the offset value? Five into 4 is 20. 20 is in decimal, and if we convert it into hex, it would be 14. And at 5 into 4 plus 2, that is 22, which is its corresponding hex value would be 16. So what I am doing is move word pointer ES:0014H, offset PRT underscore MES. So what here I am writing this ISR. Okay, this is my interrupt service routine, which is a FAR procedure. Followed. Now, the name of this interrupt service routine is PRT underscore MES. Okay, so the offset of this procedure I am storing into the memory with ES:0014. So what does it mean? What we are doing here? What is the ES value here? You might have observed that ES contains 0000. So the offset value as well as the segment value of this interrupt service routine I am placing into the interrupt vector table at the address 0014H as well as 0016H. Is this thing clear? Hello. So here what happens? This is my interrupt vector table. So this is the address 0014H and 0016H. Okay. Now I have written this procedure, and this procedure is stored, it is written at certain segment address as well as the offset value. Fine. So now this segment address I have to store at this address 0016H. Assume that this is stored at 2300:0008. Okay. So by writing this move offset print underscore MES. Okay. So the offset value of this procedure, which is having the value as 0008, so that we are copying it into ES:0014. What is ES currently? It is having this value 0000. So I am storing this value, which is the offset of this procedure, that is print underscore MES, at the address 0:0014. Okay, so this is equivalent to 0:0014H. Fine. So here I am storing at this address, I am storing the offset value, that is 0008. Okay, and plus 2, that is 0:0016. Here I am storing the segment address, that is 2300. After this, after storing the address of the ISR into this interrupt vector table, I am calling this interrupt by this instruction int05. Is this thing clear? If I am calling int05, what happens? Hello. Shall I repeat the things? Okay. See, it is fixed that the interrupt vector table would always start with the address 0000. And here it is given in this, it is a type number 5. Okay. So type 5 would have the address 0014H, that is 0:0014H and 0:0016H. Here we have the segment address of my procedure, and at this instant I'll have the offset value of my procedure or the interrupt service routine. This is my interrupt service routine. Okay. So here I am calling the procedure number or interrupt number 5, type 5. Okay. So if int05 is called, then it would get the segment as well as the IP address from this part of the memory of this interrupt vector table. Okay. So, but this, the address, the segment address as well as the offset value of this procedure should be stored here. Okay. So that I am doing that storing of the address of this interrupt service routine I am doing at this part. Okay. So what I am doing, the segment SCG PRT under, by using this assembler directive, we get the segment address of this procedure. So the segment address, we can get it of this PRT underscore MES, and that I am storing at this address ES:0016. So here I have to provide the segment address, segment value, colon the offset value. And this segment value I am initializing with 00. So the physical address for this would be 0000:0016. Okay. So this would lead to 00016. So at this address, we are storing the segment address 0016. Here we are storing the segment address of this ISR, and at this address ES:0014. Okay. So there we are storing the offset value of this interrupt service routine. Is this thing clear now? Okay. So when we have stored by using these two steps, we have stored both the segment address as well as the offset value of this procedure. Fine. And then by using this INT05, what the processor would do, the current CS and IP value would be pushed onto the stack. The flag register, CS, IP, all of them would be pushed onto the stack. Then from the interrupt vector table, at the address 00016 as well as at the address 00014, where this the segment as well as the offset value of this procedure is stored, that would be loaded into the CS and IP register. And from there onwards, it would continue processing this procedure. That is same as that of as we are using the FAR procedure. It would execute this. And at the end of this interrupt service routine, we have this IRET instruction. So this we have discussed, isn't it? So IRET instruction is used to return back from this interrupt service routine to this main program. So when it returns, it would execute the instruction which is following this INT05 instruction. Hope everyone is clear with this. How about others? So you may be wondering why this ES value is 000. Why you have used this ES value? ES. Why you have used this ES? And why it is initialized to 0? No, it is not that. I can use even if I'm not using this data segment, then I can even use the DS register, because as we know that the segment register, I mean, whenever we are finding out the 20-bit physical address, the that 20-bit contains the segment value colon the offset value. Is this thing clear? So if I want to have the 20-bit physical address, then I should provide some segment address, segment value also. Then only it would this would become the complete 20 bits. Hello, isn't it? So if I'm not using the data segment, I could have used even the DS register. No problem, isn't it? You can even use DS register. You can initialize DS register with 00. And I can write word pointer DS:14 as well as word pointer DS:16 to get the complete 20-bit address. Okay. And at these addresses, the offset value as well as the segment value of the procedure or the interrupt service routine should be written. Hope everyone is clear with this. So do you want me to write some program practically, I mean, in the assembler and show you? Okay. So in the next lecture, we'll write one program for interrupt 0, and we'll see how it works. Okay. And if I'm using interrupt 0, if I'm writing the interrupt service routine for int 0, in that case I need not mention this int 0, int 00. So if I'm trying to divide a number by 0, in such case the interrupt would be automatically generated. Are you getting this? In that case, I need not write int 0 or int some other interrupt value. Okay. If it is so, directly, if I'm trying to divide a number by 0, that interrupt would be automatically generated. You need not write. In this example, we are explicitly writing this. Okay. But actually, we need not write here. Is it clear? Hope. Type 5. So we are overriding the given type 0 to here also. When I am writing a procedure or interrupt service routine for divide by 0, there also I am the procedure would be written, or the interrupt service routine would be written, and the segment address also offset as well as the offset value. I am copying it into that interrupt vector table. So I am overriding it. Is it clear? Okay, so you can override this, but by default it would show. Okay, if you don't do that, if you don't override that, the default message it shows as divide error. Okay, I want to show some other error, some other message, then I can change by addresses in the interrupt vector table. Are you getting this? The CS and IP value or the procedure which is of the ISR can be changed, and its corresponding segment address as well as the offset value can be copied into the interrupt vector table. Is this thing clear, everyone? Okay. So in the next class, we'll see one or two programs based on that, and then we'll continue further. Hopefully everyone has understood the things. So, okay, thank you. Good day.